Coming up now is another sparkling Two Mics podcast.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics, of course, and you're listening to Extra Time. It's this time of the day when I say a very, very good morning and a very genial welcome to Mr. Mike Porky Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
Yeah, good morning, Mike. And I would like to know, really, why you feel it's so necessary to play the Liverpool anthem for a good 90 seconds, maybe 2 minutes.
It's a great song, isn't it? Don't
it's
you like
not,
it?
It doesn't matter. It's, it is so Liverpool that I just don't get it. Why haven't you played Z-Cars in reply to that? Because half of the city of Liverpool is blue, not red. And you come on, you start playing You'll Never Walk Alone. That's a song from Carousel, adopted by a set of football fans. Rodgers and Hammerstein, set of football fans both in this country and in Scotland.
Yes.
Because, of course, the Celtic fans play it. Why are you playing it for 2 minutes? Why are you playing it for 2 minutes?
I'll tell you why.
I'll
tell you why.
You know how...
Because Liverpool are playing tonight in the Champions League. We'll play Z-Cars for you on Thursday because they're playing in the Europa League on Thursday.
Good. I'll hold you to that. I'll hold you to that. Yeah, because it's very provocative to come round here and start playing that.
I think you're being oversensitive.
Because most people would say, oh, well, that's the most famous anthem in English football. It's only the most famous anthem in English football to people who used to stand on the Kop at Liverpool. Forget that.
It's a great song.
Let's move on to Newcastle, right?
I have no control over this, by the way.
Now, let me tell you what's going on at Newcastle. I can tell you what's going on at Newcastle, right? Ever since Alan Pardew was done for nuttery.
Yes.
But it wasn't really, was it? I mean, he just put his forehead on...
It was something that he should not have done.
David Maley was the player, wasn't he, from Hull, and they won 4-1. Ever since...
They're playing him again next week, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, on this weekend. Ever since he was done for that, upbraided, disciplined by his club, fined a huge amount of money.
Made to apologise.
Guess what? Newcastle have gone straight down the tubes. Lost 10, drawn 2, lost 2.
Yeah.
Sorry, 1-2.
Right.
Lost 10, drawn 2, 1-2 only, since March of this year, right? And that's because if you take that aggressive streak out of the man, you take away some of his ability. You've emasculated him. And the emasculation of Alan Pardew has led...
Well, he wasn't doing that well before he did that anyway.
Has led to him being undermined and denounced as a manager, because part of a manager's job has got to be...
You say he can't do his job unless he can have violent outbursts.
Rubbish. I knew you'd come... I knew you'd try and put me on the spot there and say, oh, so you're saying it's all right to go around nutting players. Of course I'm not.
No.
What I'm saying is...
What are you saying?
There is a level of physical aggression within a footballer, which if he loses it and...
Yeah, but a manager should never show that aggression.
Well, I don't agree. Don't you think that Sir Alex Ferguson for years and years and years showed plenty of...
Yeah, but it was contained aggression, wasn't it?
Physically illustrative aggression, would you not say?
Well, I would if I knew what the word was.
Physically illustrative. Well, I mean, illustrative means illustrating, doesn't it? Illustrating aggression without actually getting there.
Yes.
Aggression by proxy.
Yeah, but he never did what Alan Pardew did.
Well, of course he didn't do what Alan Pardew did, but what I'm saying is, doesn't it just all add up to the fact if you say to a guy, look, you must restrain your more competitive instincts, that the guy could go downhill. And by the way, I said emasculated.
Yes.
Do you not know another word for emasculated is?
What is it?
It means gendering somebody.
Uh-huh.
What are you doing to your dog?
Somebody.
What are you doing to your dog?
I'm not doing anything to my dog.
You are doing something dreadful to your dog. Tell the audience.
There is a procedure going on with the dog.
What are you doing to your dog?
There will be something
Use that
to the dog.
filthy word. What are you doing?
I'm not prepared to discuss it.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
No, it pains me to talk about it.
I want you to come out and say it. Otherwise, you are not being honest to yourself. What are you doing to your dog?
He's going to have his knackers taken away.
So what's the word?
Castrated.
He's castrating his dog, folks. This man is castrating his dog.
As recommended by many vets.
This man is castrating his dog. That should not be allowed. I want people to call in now. You know what the number is. It's 08717 223344. If you object to MG Mike Graham going around
normal procedure
cutting his dog's testicles off, then I want to hear from you. Anybody who tells me that...
about this?
Sorry?
Why are you picking on me about this?
It's the most disgusting thing I've ever heard of. I've heard of female...
Have you ever owned a dog?
That's irrelevant.
Have you ever owned a dog?
We did when I was a child, but I don't want to go into it.
It's too painful. When you were a child?
Yes.
You've never said that.
I did. I've told you many times.
Well,
His name was Susie. The name was Susie. A little dog called Susie.
His name was Susie.
Her name was Susie.
Like a boy named Sue.
No. Don't be ridiculous. Don't try and get off the subject. and
You've always said you never had a dog.
Now there
is a dog.
It's a painful memory.
Is it?
Susie
what happened to the dog?
Susie was. She used to have fits, and she used to. She had fits. She had a brain tumour, and she used to bash her head against the kitchen wall at night, and it was terrible, honestly. Because she what's that brain condition that you have fits? Epileptic.
Oh, she was
an epileptic dog. Yeah, seriously.
So what happened to her then?
Well, we had to put her down.
Oh, and you're telling me I'm cruel for taking my dog's balls away?
Well, you can't let a dog bash its head against the wall every night, can you? And go mad and start frothing at the mouth.
Well, you could have actually had, some kind of medical.
No. We tried all that.
Exercise done.
Tried that for
years. I
years.
read a story today about some people who actually had an operation done on their goldfish.
Yeah, but hang on. No, I want to talk about your dog.
Why?
I've heard about female dogs being neutered because, of course, you can't have a little female dog being effectively, imposed upon by male dogs and then you're having birth of litters of dogs all the time, so that's fine.
Well, it's the same reason why we're doing this.
It's not. I've never heard of a dog being castrated before.
Why not?
I've heard of pigs being castrated. I've heard of cattle being castrated. Yes, absolutely.
Horses.
But horses even. But I've never I've never ever heard of a dog being castrated.
There's a lot of things you haven't heard of.
It's the most immensely cruel thing you can imagine, particularly as today you put out a picture of your dog.
Yeah.
An 8-month-old puppy.
Yeah.
Labrador puppy.
Yes.
Golden Labrador.
Yes.
Beautiful creature.
Yellow, actually.
Yellow, a beautiful creature, and you are committing a most heinous crime against that dog, and I think it's disgraceful. I think it's absolutely damn disgraceful.
I think you're just picking on me.
I'm not picking on you.
If it was down to me, and if I was in charge of the dog at all times, I would say, perhaps it's not something that's necessarily needing to be done. However, because dogs become very large, and he's already a very big dog, and he's very powerful.
Labradors are big. You should have thought about that before you took him in.
But he's a very powerful dog, and as a result of that, it's very difficult for the kids to take him for a walk. He's quite aggressive. He will get more aggressive if we don't do this.
Well, why didn't you buy a smaller dog? If you wanted your kids to take your dog for a walk, why didn't you get a spaniel? Why didn't you get a spaniel?
I didn't want a spaniel.
Sorry?
I didn't want a spaniel.
No, you wanted a dog for you. You wanted a man dog, not a child dog.
Yeah, that's right.
You should have got a child dog for your children. Yeah. That's an absolute disgrace. I bet your children try and ride on the dog, don't they?
No, they don't, actually.
Why, they're too big for that now?
Probably, yeah.
7 and 9, yeah. But nevertheless, you've got this beautiful Labrador, and the Labradors are blah, 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 blah. They
very enthusiastic,
they flap around all the time.
But, if he ran at you, he'd knock you over.
Well, he would, yeah. But Labradors are a bit daft as well, because I saw a situation once where a Labrador jumped into a pit full of water, right? It was during some sort of flood.
He jumped into the bath last night, apparently.
That's what they do. And anyway, the fire brigade came along and everybody else, they rescued the dog. Took 20 minutes to get the dog out.
Yeah.
And it was really scrabbling against the bank and all that. Then she got it out. Guess what the dog did the minute they got it out?
Jump back in again.
He did.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because they just don't understand. And then they had to rescue the dog again and then tie him up. But I do think it's a disgrace, Mike. The word castration and beautiful dog, I'm afraid, make me wince.
Well, you've obviously got a problem with the word. But it makes me wince as well.
Makes me wince.
It makes me wince as well.
Makes me wince.
And I don't think there's any secret to the fact that there are some women
I can't take it in.
Take some perverse pleasure in castrating dogs.
Oh, don't be ridiculous. Are you mad?
They'd quite like to do it to me.
Oh well, I can believe that. I can believe that because, your track record over the years, quite disgraceful. But I can't believe that.
I've never seen you so upset.
I've spent too much time talking about castration because what I really want to talk about is you being neutered in business. Because, of course, you're having a go at Alan Pardew.
Well, no,
you're having a go at Alan Pardew.
Actually, I wanted to ask you the question because presumably you've faced the axe many times.
No, I haven't.
You must have seen it coming from afar.
Never been sacked.
Of course you've been sacked.
Never been sacked.
Have you never been sacked?
Never been sacked.
I don't know how you can persist with this nonsense.
No, I've been in situations where I've decided to take a strategic reversal or a strategic swerve within the career pattern.
You've walked away.
No. Reassess situations
really?
and redirected the career ambition curve.
Right.
So that way, okay?
Yeah, it's an interesting way of explaining it. But you can sometimes jump before you push.
Well, you get sacked at places where they come in and they say, look, this isn't working, so we're sacking you, we're sacking all your employees, and we're closing it down.
Yeah.
That's happened,
That has happened to me a couple of times. Yeah.
Well, that's a lot.
But it happens to people. What a modern media business is like.
Yeah.
It's the same as the football business, same as the politics business.
Imagine,
some people, when you get to a certain level, you become very vulnerable. The one thing you know, if you become the editor of a newspaper, is that you're going to be fired. Same as if you become Prime Minister, you're going to be fired eventually. And if you become the boss of a company, you're going to be fired.
The boss of the BBC is suddenly sitting there and somebody walks in and says, by the way, we're closing the BBC down, sacking all their employees, and that's it, it's all over.
Well, they don't close down the BBC, but they certainly close down bits of the BBC. They've done that before.
Well, one of these days, they might close down the BBC.
If I ever go work there, they probably would. Actually.
Yeah, I'm sure they would. Yeah, it'd have to be called.
But you seem to be very kind of. You're taking great pleasure in humiliating me this morning.
I'm not humiliating you. I'm just pointing out that there are huge gaps in the way you run your life in terms of morality, behaviour, doing the right thing, sensibility, and the dog story is absolutely appalling me. People are interested in your dog because at our last live show, I called you an abandoner because you went off and abandoned your dog and left your dog...
Which is not true.
With other people to look after. You didn't want to take any responsibility. The poor dog was only months old at the time. And now you're going to physically injure the poor dog.
Sean from Brighton says, please ask Porky to stop shouting. I've got it on the headphones at work and he's driving me nuts.
Well, I'm sorry, but I have to make my point and I have to be absolutely firm about this. And if you don't want to join in with the condemnation of old MG with me, then I'm afraid I know whose side you're on, and it certainly ain't mine. And I'm the seeker of truth and justice.
You certainly are. David Louth says somebody ought to do that to you, Porky. It might shut you up. I think he's referring to the dog procedure.
That's an horrendous thing to say.
I'm Mike Graham. We are the two Mikes. Coming up next, we're going to talk about chia seeds.
Well, he must have thought that it was quite a joke, and it got a lot of laughs from lots of folks. It seems I had to fight my whole life through. Some gal would giggle and I'd get red, and some guy'd laugh and I'd bust his head. I'll tell you, life ain't easy for a boy named Sue.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the two Mikes.
What's the point of that silly little joke?
You had a dog named Sue. I just find it very funny.
Well, it was a female dog, wasn't it?
Yeah, I know.
I know I said him, but I may always refer to dogs as him. Well, it's not.
Why do you refer to all dogs as him?
I don't know.
If it's not a him.
Well, it's like because you refer to all ships as she, don't you? And all cars as he. You know, that's the way they are.
Ships and cars don't actually have gender.
No, I know they don't. No, but I mean,
gender upon them. A dog does have gender.
You know
it's either male or female.
You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, look, I want to tell you about my chia seeds because this is
the most ridiculous thing you've ever come up with.
No, this is part of my new diet. Do you know why the Aztecs were so tall? Do you know why we call people?
I didn't know they were tall.
Yeah, 6'7", the average height of an Aztec.
The average height.
Yeah,
sure.
About that, men. That's what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that, we use the word Amazonian, an Amazonian build, as being big and strong. That was all down to the fact that the Aztecs founded the chia seeds. And chia seeds, went into all their food. And now, top sort of stores in this country, like M&S, without wanting to sort of endorse a brand.
You're not going to go through another hour endorsing a load of other products.
No. That they've got a special department in some of their shops now where they sell just chia seeds, different types of chia seeds.
Chia department.
Yeah, chia department, CHIA, the chia department, because
by the way,
seeds...
I've just been informed by our illustrious research department that Aztecs were famously short and stocky.
Rubbish.
And almost always the average height was around about 5'5", 5'6". So you could actually have been an Aztec.
No, that's utter rubbish. And don't get personal, because that's the way you always try to get out of arguments, by trying to focus on me.
The basic tenet of your reason for doing this is actually wrong. I thought I should point that out to you.
It's not.
Aztecs were not 6'7" tall.
Anyway, the chias,
they were also killed off by Cortez, weren't they?
They were killed off by Europeans taking disease there.
Yeah, Cortez.
And even the
Spaniard.
All right. Okay. Old Cortez.
So the chia pets didn't do much for him then. I say chia pets because whenever you say chia seeds, I think of chia pets.
Cortez was... Well, that's the result of them, because they all went mad on these in New York a few years ago and started growing the seeds in the kitchen.
Yeah.
But what they did is they grew them in little clay things which looked like rabbits and that sort of thing.
No, you used to be able to buy them.
The seeds grew through the holes in the...
I'm surprised, actually, that you didn't buy some of those on that shopping channel.
Well, I didn't realise how good chias were, but chias have only just reached this country. Cortez, by the way, was the man who for whom the word cortisone is responsible. You know that, don't you?
Cortisone, what? The stuff he used to kill pain?
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't know that, no.
He found it as an antidote to malaria.
Did he?
Yeah, all those years ago. That's why it's called cortisone.
It's not an antidote to malaria.
It is.
Cortisone.
Yeah, well, it was in those days. Anyway,
I don't think so.
Look, the point of my story is that these chias now. It's not just like years ago.
What is a chia seed? Anyway, tell us what it is.
Well, it's a seed, isn't it? It's a seed that comes from the Amazon. It's a tiny seed, right? It's the running food. It's the ultimate superfood.
Is it?
If you eat a load of this, you get incredible stamina and energy and just keep going and running and running and running. That's why some of the world's top runners swear by chia seeds.
But is it from a plant? Is it from a tree?
It's
you don't know, do you?
It's from a plant. It's from a chia plant, and the chia plant grows very big, almost like a banana tree, right?
Does it almost grow in the shape of a donkey?
No, grows up in the shape of a candelabra, right?
Really?
Think of a candelabra. It grows like that. Yeah.
Super.
And then right at the end of the stalks are the seeds that you take out.
Okay.
So maybe one chia tree will only produce maybe 100 seeds, and that's only enough to put in a loaf of bread.
How many seeds have you started eating then?
Well, I don't know, because I don't actually bake it. I bring them home and somebody else bakes it for me.
No.
Now, the thing is, the reason it's so good, it's full of antioxidants, minerals, including calcium, right? Because I've done all the research. It's got high levels, very, very high levels of omega-3 fatty acids, and higher than natural salmon higher than oily fish. I mean, it's just a wonder food. It's an absolute wonder food.
So you're saying that you're putting it in stuff, what, like bread? Somebody's baking bread for you? Or what?
Pita bread. People are baking pita bread and putting the chia seeds in for me, okay? And that's the sort of stuff I eat. And if you eat that with sort of your pita bread and... What would you eat pita bread with? Well, maybe...
kebabs, normally.
No. Normally with kippers. You can eat it with kippers,
you wouldn't
right?
have pita bread with kippers.
You can, honestly.
That's ridiculous.
And the pita bread's got... What's this record? What's this? What is this about?
I don't know.
What's the connection?
I don't know.
Can you tell me exactly... Can somebody tell me what the connection is between this record, which I've never heard before...
It's Cheers, isn't it?
Right, it's what?
It's Cheers. It's the theme from Cheers. You keep saying Cheers.
Chia. C-H-I-A. Not Cheers, you dumbbells. Goodness gracious me. Look at the people I've got to work...
on the ball tonight.
The people I've got to work with these days.
I went to that Cheers pub in Boston. Did you go there?
No. I had no interest in Cheers whatsoever.
Why not?
I've tried to watch episodes of it, get 10 minutes in, 12 minutes in. Everybody's too much of a smart ass, and I have to check out again. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I just can't take it.
Yeah.
Now then, what I was going to say is that the Cheers stuff is so good and so important that I think it should be made a staple part of everybody's diet. We could all be supermen. Seriously.
What does it taste like, Cheer?
Well, you don't taste it. You don't taste it.
Well, if you put seeds in something, surely it must just give off some flavour or
not
odour
really.
or something.
Not really. It's a bit like eating lemon drizzle cake with the stuff they put on the top. Poppy seeds, is it?
Poppy seeds?
That's right, yeah. It's a bit like that.
I've never seen poppy seeds on the top of lemon drizzle cake.
Yeah,
They
I
put
have.
them on bagels, don't they, poppy seeds?
Yeah, that's right. I thought...
Well, you get bread, you get white loaves with poppy seeds on the top.
Yeah, I thought they put them on top of lemon drizzle cake.
Well, I do. I've never seen that.
Okay.
It would be a weird taste if they did that.
Anyway, look, years ago, my younger sister, who's a home economist, she experimented with all sorts of diet foods, including sunflower seeds.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, she used to eat those by the handful. You see what I mean? You get a big bag of sunflower seeds from the local health shop.
People went through that craze for a while.
That they did, yeah. But the problem is, it wasn't good. I mean, you know, I didn't think it was good sunflower seeds. But you literally eat them by the handful, like you would eat peanuts.
So you
know what I mean?
eat chia seeds like that?
Not at all. Not at all.
Are they smaller than sunflower seeds?
Oh,
then?
tiny. They're tiny. As I say, they're like little poppy seeds. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and you put them into food, and believe me, absolutely first class. Absolutely first class, mate.
So how many are you eating on a daily basis then?
I don't know, perhaps 100.
Is this why you're sort of all running off at the mouth like you've had about 12 Red Bulls?
No.
Is this why you're full of energy or something?
Hey, listen, talking about the mouth, by the way, talking about the mouth.
The mouth?
Yes. Were you given an instrument to play at school?
Well, I wasn't given an instrument to play at school. I did learn the violin when I was a child.
You learned the violin, right.
Yeah.
So that's not a mouth instrument, obviously. Now, what's happening these days...
When I started trying to play with my mouth, they gave me a bow. They said, actually, you're not meant to do that.
Yeah, you're trying to be funny there. Well, I'm not in a funny mood, I'm afraid.
Do you know what the bows are made of? Do you know what violin bow is made of?
Catgut.
No, that's what the strings are made of.
That's what I'm saying.
No, I said the bow.
The bow's made of willow.
No, it's made of... but what about... It's made of horsehair.
Horsehair?
Yeah.
The bow?
The bow, yes. The bow that you use to play a stringed instrument is made of horsehair.
No, it's catgut, I've just told you.
No, catgut is what they make the strings from.
Yeah, but the strings have to resonate against each other, so they've got to be the same.
The strings don't touch each other.
Of course they do.
No, they don't. You've got 4 strings on a violin, G, D, A and E, right?
I'm
and you
talking
play them
about
with a bow.
Yeah, and the bow's got strings on it, you fool.
No, the bow's made of horsehair.
Oh, well, if it's made of horsehair, it's made of horsehair. What I'm saying is it is the resonance between the horsehair strings and the catgut strings.
Have you ever played the violin?
Which make noise. I've had a few lessons.
Really?
I've had a few lessons, yeah. Had a few lessons.
I used to go to the Royal Academy and actually perform.
Rubbish.
Yes, I did.
Utter nonsense. Anyway, a report from a magazine called Making Music says that the art of teaching our children how to play classical instruments is disappearing so rapidly.
Well, they can't find music teachers, that's the problem.
Well, they can, but guess what the music teachers play? They play guitar, they play drums, saxophone is just about surviving, excuse me, but mostly speaking, it's out.
A saxophone's hardly a classical instrument.
Well, it's the man who made this...
Beethoven's, symphony for the saxophone. I haven't heard of that one, have you?
No, don't be ridiculous. The saxophone is a modern classical instrument, and it was made extremely popular by my mate Bill Clinton.
Was it?
But you
don't play
the 42nd President of the United States of America.
Yeah, they used to play jazz on it.
Well, OK, they play jazz on it. But what I'm saying is classical instruments. Now, one that's really going out of fashion is the flute. And flautist James, what's his name?
Galway. James
Galway, that's right. I mean, he used to be in demand all over the world to play the flute. Now people are thinking, well, not...
It's a flautist, technically, isn't
He's
it?
a flautist.
Not a flautist.
Flautist. And the point is, he's still very popular. He's a great man. He lives in Lucerne in Switzerland.
Does he?
Yeah, he does. And And he's brilliant.
It's quite difficult. I mean, one of the things they always teach you to play when you're at school, the first instrument they ever give you is a recorder.
That's right.
And I mean, I've sat through many Christmas plays when, the horrendous sound of
Absolutely.
children playing recorders.
There's a more basic instrument than a recorder. No.
What?
The triangle.
Oh, the triangle.
You ever played the triangle?
I used to play the triangle.
And by the way, don't you think when you see a group, when you see some jerk standing on the stage and all he's doing is rattling the tambourine, you kind of work out that he's no Lennon McCartney, this boy, is he?
He's more like Linda McCartney. When she was playing with Wings, she'd be standing behind one of the big amps with a triangle.
Oh, well, that's a bit unfair because he did get her to play the organ and the piano and all that kind of stuff, and she's not with us anymore to defend herself, so that's unfair. But no, it always makes me laugh when you see the guy on the stage, giving it, and whenever they rattle the tambourine, right? Yeah. And you question them afterwards. They call themselves a percussionist.
Percussionist, yeah.
A percussionist.
Well, a lot of people who play the tambourine are percussionists, and they play the bongo drums, or they play the big gong at the back of the stage. I mean, there are people who do that.
When I was in my
they could shake a can of chia seeds, couldn't they?
That's right. Well. Yeah. When I was in my late teens, right, whenever I felt like giving somebody a laugh at a party, what I used to do is it was interesting. There was a few years earlier, there'd been a show on called Rawhide, you know, and it starred Clint Eastwood actually, but the opening song was something like Rawhide, and then there was a crack of a whip.
That's right. Yeah.
So what I used to do is I used to pick up a drinks tray because they had drink trays in those days, and go Rawhide, bang, and smash myself on the head.
Deary me. I think if you did that a lot, it's now started to take its toll.
Well, it did actually, yeah. That made the sound of a whip, and it was so funny. People used to laugh their heads off, even though I say it myself.
Do you think did they also join in and start hitting you over the head repeatedly with the tray until you left?
They might have done, I don't know. But
I'm not surprised. Mike Porky Parry and more charming stories of a childhood and his dog named Sue coming up next on Talk Sport.
Rolling, 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 though the streams are swollen.
Now this is a bit here, it's the punchline, look.
All the things I'm missing, your fiddle's lovely waiting at the end of my ride.
Yeah, listen.
Hit 'em up, move 'em on, hit 'em up, rawhide, cut 'em out, ride 'em in.
Here's the whiplash. Mr. Whiplash.
There's no whiplash in this one. This is the Blues Brothers version.
Yeah. Oh, is it?
This is the Blues Brothers version.
No, you're joking.
Have you seen Blues Brothers?
Yeah, of course I've seen Blues Brothers. Yeah, but the actual
the actual TV show. Yeah.
The TV show. Yeah, it
did have a whip.
It was hurt 'em up, move 'em out, whack-a-oh, rawhide. You know, and it was that crashing noise, which sounded just like a tray being smashed over somebody's head. So I couldn't find anybody else to smash the tray over.
Did you never hurt yourself? You never cut yourself?
Well, I was always too inebriated to worry about it, and it was only a circular.
Very worrying.
So, you know, in those days, they had circular trays in every pub, you know. I don't know why.
Metal ones.
Yeah, metal ones, that's right. I don't know why people carry drinks around on metal trays, because they always spill them. When you're drunk, you know, you always fall over or throw them over somebody.
Involved being drunk in a pub.
Well,
this is how you spent your misspent youth.
No, but it was part of everybody's upbringing, wasn't it? You know, that sort of thing. I mean, you must have had situations like that, where you had rituals when you were in a pub with your mates. I mean, there you were, a student, you know, living off the state, stealing all the crockery from the shop downstairs.
Not true at all.
And all that kind of stuff. So you must have had the rituals that you went through in
when I was at University of
Bath,
drinking
situations.
We used to go to a lot of different pubs around Bath, and we'd always have to have a designated driver because we had a guy who had an old van, an old Simca van. Do you remember Simcas?
Yeah, of course I do. Yeah, I do.
Well, they made like somewhere in Eastern Europe or something.
French or something? I don't know.
They were made in Eastern Europe. But it was like it was basically
France made a lot of really bad cars 30 years ago. You know, those cars would look like bug headlights on them. What were they called? CVX or something?
Oh, the Chauffeur.
Yeah. Go on. Yeah.
This was basically a van because he was a TV repairman in his spare time as well. So he would put loads of TVs in the back of the van. He was a student. He was an electrical engineering student, and he ended up he wanted to become a TV repairman. That was his job.
Well, what an ambition that is.
Well, what's wrong with being a TV repairman?
Go to university, get a degree, and then turn out to be a TV repairman.
He loved televisions. He had loads of televisions.
What a lowly profession that is.
Why is that lowly?
Well, because
look how snobbish you are.
No. By the way,
you don't actually get TV repairmen now, do you?
No, there aren't any.
Because if a TV goes wrong,
you throw it out.
Chuck it out.
Yeah, you do, yeah.
Get another one.
Yeah, but in the old days, you see, that's another interesting thing. In the old days, everybody rented TVs. Nobody bought one.
That's right.
When I got my first house and all that kind of stuff, the first thing that I did was, ring up Radio Rentals, who, although they're called Radio Rentals, actually used to rent out a lot of TVs
that was
as well.
confusing for a lot of people.
It was very confusing indeed. Can I rent a radio? No. Oh,
you can rent a television.
You can rent a television.
Well, funnily enough, I used to know the guy, well, my parents knew him actually, the guy who ran Vision Hire, which was the other big company.
Okay.
And he had this massive big house in Mayfair. I always remember going to his house
Right.
one time for a party.
Yep.
And you walk in, and it was one of the first times you'd ever seen somebody with a massive, great big portrait in the hall
of himself,
of him and his wife.
Ah.
Horrible, absolutely horrible.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he made an absolute fortune doing it. No, but we'd all pile into the back of this guy's Simca, and one person would be the designated driver.
Right.
And there'd be about 7 of us in the back of this car, literally just sort of rolling about, going from pub to pub in Wiltshire. It was great fun.
Yeah.
That was our only ritual I remember, really.
What happened when you got to the pub?
Well, we just had a few drinks and then got
What
back
about
in
the
the
guy
van.
driving, though?
Well, he wasn't drinking.
Well, why? I mean, what a ridiculous thing to go out on a night with your mates drinking and not drink. I mean, it's silly.
Well, we had to take...
I'd exclude him from the crowd. I'd tell him to wait outside.
You wouldn't have gotten back...
No.
But, you wouldn't have got into the van with a load of people who were drinking and driving, would you?
Well, of course not. But what I'm saying
Well,
is...
in the countryside, you can't go from pub to pub unless you've got a car.
I know that, but what I'm saying is...
What are you saying, then?
Well, I'd make him sit outside in the car. I wouldn't allow him in, because a
He
man
would
like...
come in and drink a pint of orange juice and lemonade.
No. Utter rubbish, because a man like that puts a complete damper on the night's proceedings.
No.
He's making everybody feel guilty looking at
why you haven't
his
got any
orange...
friends.
Hang on, mate, looking at his orange and lemonade. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm just not having that at all. It's...
it's true that as time went on, he would become less and less a part of the conversation.
Well,
because
exactly.
Everybody else was
That's
getting
exactly.
more and
then
drunk.
you lot are all getting bevied up. See a few girls over in the corner. You think, well, let's not go and chat them up and all that kind of stuff. He's not
didn't do a
interested
lot of that, actually.
because he's that's obvious. I mean, it's obvious because you tried to make up for it in later life, didn't you?
Well, very possibly
you
so.
know, you tried to make
and
up
the other
for it
good thing was I didn't actually drive at that time. I didn't have a licence, so I was never the designated driver. So I was always in the back.
I was pretty lucky. I mean, why couldn't you just walk around pubs like I did in Nottingham, where I was
they're
at the
about 5 miles apart.
University of the Trent? We lived in a place called, actually, I know the road, it's called Harlaxton Drive. It was on the edge of a place called the Castle, or the Park. I think it was the Park in which the castle was. And we used to walk through the park, past the castle, in Nottingham.
Did you ever go to that? Was that really old pub that's there?
Ye Old Trip to Jerusalem.
That's it, yeah.
Ye Old Trip to Jerusalem.
Yeah, I've been there.
Which is, in fact, just hollowed into the wall of the castle. Yeah. It's a cave. It's not really a pub, it's a cave. But it's full of very historical pubs, Nottingham, because, of course, it was the home of Robin Hood until then people in Yorkshire keep trying to nick Robin Hood as their own.
Yeah, they do.
Ludicrous.
Well, in Bath there was loads of pubs that you could walk around as well, but occasionally we would do a kind of a specific like Friday night pub crawl, and we'd go out into the countryside where there are some great pubs, but you have to have a car to get to them.
Well, of course you do, but it's rather selfish to say to your mate, right, we're not going into town to drink tonight on foot so that you can drink. We're going out into the country, but you're driving. By the way, is it right that there are no TV repairmen anymore at all?
Well, I don't think there are. I mean, you can still get people to come in. Now they're more like people who install your satellite TV.
Well, this is it. This is what I was going to say to you, you see.
But what they don't do is take your TV away and fix the tube or something like that.
No. Or even come and fix
the
it.
contrast.
There's nothing to fix.
Well, there's nothing to fix.
Nothing to fix. I mean, the TVs are so slim now. I mean,
I've got a smart TV now. Have you got one of those? You wouldn't be able to operate a smart TV.
Probably. I've ordered a curved TV because I'm told this is the latest thing. Yeah.
What are you going to do with that?
Well, I'm going to put it in one of my houses, aren't I, and watch it. You know, what do you think I'm going to do? Do you think I'm going to do? Do you think I'm going to use it to bath in or something?
Well, I've no idea, but you can probably hold it in the bath because you're supposed to be able to hold these things, and they curve to whichever sort of shape you want them to curve to.
Do they?
But that's why it's a curved TV.
No, but it's fixed. You can't unbend it and bend it up.
Yeah, you can. They're making those, yeah.
Rubbish.
You sure that's not what you're getting?
No, I'm getting a TV with a curve on it because it makes it...
Which way is it curved? Convex or concave?
It's convex.
Is it?
Yeah. No, it's concave. It's concave.
Don't know, do you?
I do know. It's concave. And the point...
So what's the purpose of it being curved?
Well, because it makes you think that you're in a century-round cinema. Because what are you laughing at? Because the picture's all around you.
Well, how big is it?
Well, you're laughing at you fool. It's about 50-inch or something like that. And it's great massive...
No, you'd have to sit right in the middle of it, wouldn't you?
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Because what it takes advantage of is your ability to see out the sides of your eyes. Now, what's that called?
Peripheral vision.
Peripheral vision. Great footballers have this. Rooney apparently has got the best peripheral vision in football, so he can see out the sides of his eyes, so he can see anything coming. Now, I've got
couldn't see Robin van Persie coming, could
he could. He could not see Louis van Gaal coming, the Iron Tulip. But, no, the point of my story is that...
Stephen Sheffield has texted. He says, "Morning, Mike. Is Mr. Parry related to that guy in the '60s who used to be on Opportunity Knocks? He used to smash himself over the head with a drinks tray to the song Rawhide."
Well, that's the one that's the one we've just done, isn't it?
Yeah.
Rawhide, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Well, did you see somebody doing that on Opportunity Knocks?
Well, no, but one of my mates did it once, and I thought that's a good trick, and I'll do it. I don't know where he got it from.
So you stole it, in other words?
No, I didn't steal it. I didn't steal it. No,
like
I didn't steal
else
it.
In your
No,
life.
no. I just did it better than anybody else did. There's a big row going on, which I've come across in Bolton about a grandfather who refused to pick up the ball in the back garden and throw it back over the fence to the 7-year-old kid next door.
So what, the neighbours are at war?
Yeah, but he said, I didn't keep it, I didn't interfere with it, I didn't do anything with it, I just didn't pick it up and throw it back. Now, is that a crime?
No, it's not.
Well,
absolutely
it
not.
happens. It happens to me all the time because in
you haven't got a garden.
No. But in the old penthouse à la Surrey, right, the back wall goes over to a playing field,
right,
and the kids are always playing football there, and the ball comes over. Not a lot. I mean,
Well, I thought it was a penthouse. Well, how high is it then?
Well, it is, but from the penthouse balcony, I can see the ball coming over. So whenever I do, and the poor kids are, oh yeah, I've got a ball, I go down and I pick up the ball and I throw it back to them.
Yeah.
Because that's the sort of guy I am.
Yeah.
I'm socially aware.
That's
what
fair
I mean?
enough.
But the other problem is, if I don't, I'm frightened that they might climb over the fence and start damaging the fence.
Yeah, I think that's true.
And damaging the trees and all that kind of stuff.
Well, it's a very difficult thing, because if it happens a lot, it starts to get very annoying. And I think if you're a neighbour of somebody who and there's kids' balls coming over all the time. I mean, when my kids...
Yeah, absolutely.
And the house my kids used to live in, which was much closer to the next house, there used to be a football going over pretty much once a day.
Well, that's right.
And after a while, they just stopped chucking them back.
Did you ever kick a football through a neighbour's window when you were a kid?
I don't think I ever did that.
I did all the time. All the time.
Well, by accident?
Well, yeah, but the problem is we lived in a cul-de-sac and the walls were only like 3 or 4 foot high in front of the houses. So with my, dynamic feet, which I had in those days...
What sort of feet have you got now?
Well, they're not dynamic because they're not as young as they were then, were they?
I see.
And I could blast a ball, bang. To this day, I can remember the shattering bang and collapse of a window. My dad was forever paying out for broken windows. I did one at school once as well. Smashed a ball through a window at school.
You got no kind of compassion about anybody around you. It's all about you.
No, not at all. But it's not my fault, is it? I think children should be allowed to play. And if I was that grandfather, I'd throw the ball back. But there must be history between the two, that the ball comes over too often. You know what I mean?
There must be.
And I'm very understanding about that. Kids should be allowed to play. In fact, when I hear children playing in the street...
Have you seen the time, by the way?
Yeah, hang on. When I hear children playing in the street, I like it. And I can't stand those who moan and say, can't those children... Somebody's coughing in my ear now.
Yeah.
Coughing.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. It's just ignore them.
And people say, I can't stand those children always playing. I love the sound of children playing in the street. It means they're young and energetic and, the neighbourhood's lively.
Really? This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the Too Much. I've got no idea what he's going to say next. There's no point in pretending. This is TalkSport.
Happy talk, keep talking, happy talk.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the Too Much. That's Captain Sensible.
Captain Sensible? Not really. He made one record, didn't he? And that was it.
Well, he was with the Damned for quite a long time.
He was with who? The Damned.
Yeah.
What's they? Some punk group?
They were a punk group, yes.
Punk group? I don't know. I don't think punk ever really existed. I think it was just talentless musicians.
Well, you think it was all in our imagination?
Yeah, started making a lot of noise, and all that kind of stuff.
Changed the musical world for the better.
I read an interview with a member of what was the most famous one? Malcolm McLaren's group. Sex Pistols. And I think he was in the Sex Pistols. He said once he left there, it was all over. Nobody take him seriously as a musician after that.
Was that Johnny Lydon?
No, it wasn't actually. It was one of the others. I didn't recognise his name. Listen, I'll tell you what I want to talk to you about.
Before you do that, let me just read a couple of these out to you.
Right, go on, let's do
Ben
that.
in York says this. He's texted into 81089. He says, Mike, on Robin Hood, it's Robin of Loxley, which is on the outskirts of Sheffield, so you cannot steal which is rightfully yours. So I guess he's saying that...
No, that's where his dad grew up.
That's why...
Loxley was the family estate.
He was called Robin of Loxley, though,
he was called Robin of Loxley, and there's no dispute Loxley is on the edge of Sheffield, but that's where his father's estate grew up, but that was taken off him when he was away fighting the Crusades. When he comes back, he had to re-establish himself by dashing into Sherwood Forest and getting his band of merry men together and then fighting the Sheriff of Nottingham. That's where the confusion lies.
Indeed. Derek from Pincoith says this. Mike, Porky said that when he was younger he used to hit himself on the head with a tea tray. Maybe that's why he has so many crazy ideas. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think there is a connection. Now, what do you want to talk about?
Right, so I'm going to tell you about this. Why are women so bitchy to each other, right? And women columnists in particular, they don't often hit out against men, They're usually quite ecumenical about their views on men. But women, listen to this one here. This is a very popular columnist in a big selling newspaper at the weekend, and she's talking about Kelly Brook. Now, Kelly Brook's been all over the place at the moment.
And also, she's one of the women that you're always going on about. She's one of your favourite women.
Kelly Brook, I think, is probably the
Kelly
most...
Brook probably gets more mentions on this show than any other woman.
I think she's the most beautiful and glamorous woman in the world. Obviously, I'm far too old to take...
She's your kind of dream woman, isn't she?
No, not really, because I'm far too old to think about having any romantic interest in Kelly Brook. But as a female form, she's absolutely beautiful. And she's all over the place at the moment because her autobiography is out. And one thing that she talked about was whacking Danny Cipriani and Jason Statham, two of her boyfriends, in the face when they started cheating on her.
Right.
Which I think's fair enough. You know, you
happens,
but now, you know, all these blinking do-gooders are saying, oh, you know, domestic violence.
No, really?
Oh, honestly, you know, unbelievable. You know how you can talk about it. But anyway, the point I'm making is this lady columnist at the weekend writes this. Look, just accept this for bitchiness, right? Promoting her autobiography, Close Up, Kelly Brook says, I've often wondered where I'd be without my boobs, because, of course, she's very well known for a very full figure.
Yeah.
The columnist goes on to say, I think I can answer that one. A Big Mac and fries, please, Kelly. Now, how bitchy is that?
That's not very nice, is it?
Well, the point is that the person writing this has clearly got envy and jealousy written all over her persona.
To be fair, you can't really be a newspaper columnist, particularly a female newspaper columnist, if you don't have those
that's fair enough.
I think they like to call them waspish views.
Yeah, waspish, but it's so bitchy because, I mean, that's like saying... You know, to Meryl Streep, well, if you didn't have any acting ability, you'd be serving, you know, Big Mac and fries in a McDonald's. It's like saying to a woman scientist, if you didn't have a brain, you'd be serving a Big Mac and fries in McDonald's. What I'm saying is, surely every woman, whether it's physical or mental or whatever, uses the attributes that God gave her to make the best of her life, doesn't she?
Of course, absolutely.
And if that includes the fact that you're very sexy and very voluptuous and you can make a living by posing in front of a camera, why on earth would anybody envy somebody for doing that? It's like saying, you know, Wayne Rooney would be working in McDonald's if he couldn't play football.
The subtext of it is that, you know, I'm a much more clever woman than you are.
Exactly.
And obviously I would have a job no matter what I look like, whereas you, on the other hand, have only got a job because you're rather beautiful.
Yeah.
That's the problem. But the trouble is, in this country, we have so many people who write stuff like that, people on television, people even on the radio, and quite often even sometimes listeners and viewers, they just want to slag people off who are successful.
I know.
Because there's some kind of a British disease.
It is,
where, you know, for some reason, if you become something, they want to give you a hard time and say, oh, you only did this because, you know, either you slept your way to the top or you did this or you did that. You know,
I've never been accused of sleeping myself to the top, you see.
Sleeping yourself to the top?
Yeah, sleeping to the top. What did you say?
Sleeping your way to the top.
Sleeping my way to the top.
No, I'm not surprised you've never been accused of
sleeping my way to the top.
We're sleeping your way anywhere, really.
But I get it all the time, Mike. I get people saying to me, how do you do it? How do you do it?
Well, they're mystified with a man of so little talent could have done so well with his life.
Do it? And I say, you know, sheer damn persistence, hard work.
That's true.
And living by my motto.
Which is?
My motto is, if you're not winning, it's because you're not trying hard enough. No, if you're not winning, it's you're not trying hard enough. Now, you've failed a few times.
Oh, here we go.
Perhaps you weren't trying hard enough.
Go at me.
Perhaps you weren't trying hard enough.
Well, I mean, you may be familiar with a phrase that, you know, if you don't fail, you actually don't understand anything about life, because the whole point of failure is that you recover from it and you get up again.
Expression.
And, you know, if you fall off the horse, you get back on the horse.
If you're not winning, it's because you're not trying hard enough. They closed a newspaper around you and put 30 people on the dole.
That's right.
How could you have failed so miserably?
Well, I didn't fail. It was a political decision that was made by the big bosses who decided it was too expensive.
If you'd have managed to increase the circulation of the paper to about 8 million a day, it wouldn't have closed, would it?
Well, yeah, but the complications of the story are too much to go into at this particular moment in time. Let me read you this instead. Hi, Mike and Mike. The song I remember the man hitting himself with a tin tray to was Bob Blackman's cover of Frankie Lane's Mule Train. No doubt that talented singer, Mr. Parry, can give us a rendition. That's from Roger in Slough, who's a Chelsea supporter. By the way, P.S., he said, what did Mr. Parry make of Everton's record signing Romelu Lukaku not celebrating after scoring for the Toffees on Saturday against West Bromwich?
I'd prefer it if he had, because he's playing an Everton shirt now. He's only on loan to West Brom, but the boy has to do it according to his conscience. He's a Christian, and it seems to be a very Christian thing to do.
I'm sure you've said in the past that everybody should all celebrate scoring.
I think they should. Now, Mule
Train...
Train...
Why are you defending him?
Mule Train, I remember the...
I know Love Train by the OJs.
No, Mule Train. I remember the chorus, and it literally went, Mule Train, then crash, you know, bang. Don't know if we can make that noise, can we? I don't know if our engineer guy...
I could hit you over the head with a metal tray.
Well, you could, yeah, and it wouldn't hurt, actually. They're very light, those metal trays, so it doesn't matter. Love Train,
aluminium trays.
Love Train was the OJs.
It was, I said that.
Come on, Marana, Love Train.
Come on, Marana.
We're on a Love Train. Now, that was a super hit in the discos when I was thrown a few
Philadelphia
shapes.
sound.
Thrown a few shapes in my late teens, early 20s.
Really?
That was very, very popular. Very seductive song, that.
I presume you'd given up hitting yourself on the head with a tray at this point.
Yeah, well, actually, maybe I hadn't even started. I'm not sure. Maybe my Trey head bashing days were yet to come.
How Trey very trendy. Now, listen, I want to talk to you about Rio Ferdinand as well, because you were talking about autobiographies. Now, let me put a theory to you about some of the things that went wrong at Manchester United, OK?
Yeah.
Now, if you had a guy like Rio Ferdinand, who was clearly quite a destabilising force under the Moyes regime...
What, you think so?
Oh, yeah, he said various things about how he wasn't happy about the way that the team was being trained. He made
Couldn't eat chips on a Friday night.
Yeah, he gave quite a few interviews during the time that he was still at Manchester United, probably knowing that he was leaving Manchester United at the end of the season.
Well, he did, yeah.
If he also knew that he was writing a book about his time at Manchester United, do you wonder whether he was kind of sometimes instigating situations that he could then write about to make his book better?
I think that's a bit Machiavellian.
It is Machiavellian.
And also...
But that's why I'm asking you the question.
Also, you've got to be super bright to work that one out. Well, I'll start a few rows now.
You don't have to be that bright to be Machiavellian.
I mean, how could he have preempted a situation which he describes in his book as being taken into a room with Nemanja Vidic? So they're probably the best defensive partnership.
Who?
Nemanja Vidic.
Nemanja?
Yeah, Nemanja.
Isn't that a movie? That's Jumanji.
No. I'm talking
It's
about
Nemanja.
Yeah, Nemanja. That's what I said.
Nemanja starts with an N.
That's what I said. Taking them into a room and then being showed successive clips of other defenders defending things without getting slightly annoyed.
No, but all I'm saying, if you're writing a book about a situation
but
which
he couldn't have preempted that. He couldn't have made David Moyes do that.
No, he couldn't. But his reaction to what was happening...
So your theory immediately
it doesn't. Because
dissipates.
Because his reaction to what was happening... No, it doesn't. His reaction to what is happening might well be tapered to what he would like to write about in his book. So therefore, if he hadn't been writing a book, his reaction might have been different. That's my point.
No, I don't think so, because I think he had plans to write the book a year ago. That's when the publishers will have got onto him. He's written a book before.
No, I know
I remember about 5 years ago, a bit longer, 6 years ago, I wrote... We're
not going to talk about your books again.
Yeah, because I wrote my Brazil book, it was a bestseller, and the year after, one of the lads from The Sun, I think,
wrote
the first...
was inky black.
Yes, right, yeah. Wrote the first Rio Ferdinand book, and it didn't do very well. It was the same year that Frank Lampard's book came out, and a lot of them didn't meet up to the sort of sales figures that they'd been flagged to do, and
well, it's quite hard to write a best-selling football book,
to put it bluntly, because that's what it does. A good football book has to be so searingly honest, and actually some of...
Are you suggesting that there's a lot of bubbly in Brazil was searingly honest?
Searingly honest it was.
So when you describe searingly honest, do you mean things like the snow was as white as a tin of Dulux pigs?
Well, I can only write down, as I keep telling you, what Alan Brazil said to me. But in Rio's book, have you read the first serialisation?
This is 2007, this is his first book, by the way. Or his
2007, was it? Yeah. Last Saturday, Rio went through a number of situations, which included, and there's no humour in this whatsoever, the extremely difficult situation between himself, Ashley Cole, and his brother Anton. And actually, that's a bit of a Shakespearean tragedy when you read it, because, of course, each of those three men had a point of view which they wanted to endorse, and whichever way they endorsed it, it was going to prove impossible for the second or third party to agree.
To agree with,
and I actually felt quite... I mean, it's quite sorrowful that a man like Rio Ferdinand, who played in the England team with Ashley Cole for so many years, and who both individually and collectively achieved things together, will never speak to each other again.
Really?
That's really sad. That is Macbethian. And,
Macbethian?
Yeah.
You've invented a new word.
Well, you know what I'm talking about. It's a Shakespearean tragedy, isn't it?
It really is. We've got quite a few tweets here that have come in.
Let's have a look.
Here's Joseph, who says, does this Mike Parry ever talk calmly, ever? Always at the top of his voice. Our poor family, what have they got to live with? He's talking about yours. And Mr. T says, Porky smashing his head with a metal tray. Do I have to say it? It explains a lot. And then here's one from Stagger, who says, I'm enjoying this nuttery. Pardew and Allardyce will both remain till next season at least. And then here's another one that says, Friday show. How about a Halloween special with Porky going into greater detail about all of this madness? And Carl says, blame the players. Who picks the players, sets the tactics, motivates, etc.? The manager. The buck stop with him. And before you say anything else, of course, the guy that everybody seems to be reminding us is the guy who did the smashing of the tray on Opportunity Knocks. Was actually, as this guy said, a bloke called Bob Blackman. And we've actually found Mule Train for you.
Oh, great. Yeah, I'll have a listen. That's it, yeah. That's the tray smashing bit. Yeah, I love it. I love it.
That's from an original idea by Bob Blackman. And then finally from Jason, he says, to help Parry with his facts, Aztecs were short and stocky, rarely taller than 5'6".
Rubbish.
All that banging his head has affected him, I think.
Rubbish.
Well, I guess we'll learn more about your sort of escapades in Southern American or South American ancient civilizations coming up when you join us again on Thursday night for a 5-hour spectacular of the two mics. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Parry, and we shall no doubt be speaking very, very shortly. That was the Two Mics podcast.
Yes, it certainly was. Don't forget, it's out every Tuesday and every Friday morning on iTunes.
And you can follow us at the Two Mics.
So keep listening for more of MG's loose morals. Believe me, this boy hasn't got a moral fibre in his body.
And more of his bizarre buffoonery.
What?